Thank you very much. Let me introduce myself just first. So I am Anne-Claire Norcy, and I work for the consulting company R&I Conseil in France. And so I am a regulatory affairs consultant. Our expertise is on all the regulation worldwide of healthy products in food and also in medicines. So today I will talk about the regulatory landscape for natural extracts and specifically for this regulation in Europe. So first, the first point will be to know how is regulated the use of natural extracts in medicinal products. So first we will focus on the regulatory context in Europe, then the current status at the European and national level, and then a little speak about the future. We will also speak about the consequences of this regulation on manufacturers and, for example, the difficulties they can have to evaluate the efficacy of their products or the best strategy to sell their products in Europe. We will finish with some guidance that exists to help manufacturers. So first, to begin, I wanted to give you a small definition of what is a natural extract in Europe, because the definition is not the same for food and for drugs, for example. So you always have to have in mind the application you want to do before making a natural extract. So in food, for example, a natural extract is an ingredient which comes from nature, it's normal, but which has just been mechanically transformed or extracted with water, but not with other solvents like ethanol or others. This is not really a harmonized definition because you cannot find it in a real regulation, but some member states made some information note on this and mostly they agree with the fact that the extraction must not be with solvent and it must only be some little transformation to be considered as a natural extract. In drugs, it's really different because all natural extracts are extracts that comes from nature, so vegetable origin or animal origin, but it doesn't matter what the process what process have been made after. So just a little point, we cannot say that if we use a natural extract, it will be safe. It's really different things between the use of the natural extract and the non-toxicity of the product. So in all the legislations, there was a very important point that you need to protect public health, and so to ensure the safety and efficacy of your product, you need to follow some regulations. So here is a little diagram of the use of natural extracts in Europe. So you can use it either in food and in drugs, but the level of safety will be different. For example, in drugs, it will be you will need to have a higher safety than for food, for example. But there is a more important safety to follow for drugs, but also you will be able to claim on therapeutic action, whereas for food you will be only able to speak about health claims. So it's not always the same objective of for industrials. So today we will focus on drugs. So legislation on drugs in Europe. So first it was the directive of 2001-83, which gave the community code relating to medicine products for human use. So it gives the definition of a medicinal product. So it is a combination of substances or one substance which aim is to treat or to prevent disease in human beings. So today we speak a little bit more about herbal medicines. So what are herbal medicines? In fact, these are medicines which contains only botanicals. And they could be classified at the beginning of the regulation on this as either herbal medicines with well-established use, or with no data from a bibliographical point of view, but from the company's own development. So we differentiate, in fact, the well-established use and the full application data for industrials, which have some data on their own products and on their own combination of plants. So concerning the evidences you have to have for these herbal medicines, they are also different, because for well-established use, you will need to show that the scientific literature that exists on your substance, and also it will be made with the data that are within the EU for at least 10 years. So for this application, it will be a market authorization. And it will be the same for the full application with data from the company, which will be also a market authorization. At this time, so before 2004, this procedure also applied for THMP, which are traditional herbal medicinal products, but there were a simplified procedure for these products. Unfortunately, there were no uniformity of this procedure between the member states, so this is why in 2004 a new directive amended the first code and gave some information of what is a THMP and what are the requirements for this new type of herbal medicinal product. So with this new directive, industrial had 7 years to put it in application, and so it means that all the requirements of this new directive needed to be taken into account in April 2011 to continue commercializing the products. So for THMP, it is always a herbal medicinal product with the definition of a classic herbal medicinal product. But there is new requirements for this kind of products. So I just gave you the difference between herbal substance and herbal preparation, just to have, I think you know it, but just to have it in mind. Herbal substance is an unprocessed herbal botanical, and herbal preparation is a herbal substance on which was made a treatment, such as extraction or distillation or expression, etc. In fact, only isolated single chemically defined substances, which may represent a final step of purification, do not belong to this category. Other herbal products are included in this category. For example, if you take a herbal substance which could be valerian root, you can make several herbal preparations with this valerian root, as an extraction with 70% of ethanol, for example, or other type of extraction, and both can represent the active ingredient in an individual herbal medicinal products. So now the requirements for THMP, because it cannot be used for all the herbal medicinal products. So first, the product must show appropriate indications. Because it's important, this point, because THMP are for use without the supervision of a medical practitioner. So then you need to precise the specific strength and posology on the product. It can be either oral, external, or inhalation preparation. And the most important point is the one after. It is a period of traditional use. So the period is 30 years preceding the date of the application, including at least 15 years within the community. So you must have sufficiently data on your product and specifically on the safety of the products in the specified conditions of use, and also on the pharmacological effects or efficacy of the medicinal product justification on the basis of long-standing use and experience. In fact, it will not be a safety assessment in each case, but it will be based on the long-standing use of experience. So it gives a third classification for the herbal products. First, we had the well-established use and the full application, and now we have also the traditional use, which is well defined. And so for this category, now quality needs always to be shown, but efficacy does not. So only the traditional indications in specified conditions must be plausible, but you do not have to prove efficacy every time. And also it changes a little bit the procedure, because for this herbal medicinal products, it is only a registration and not a market authorization. Another point which has been introduced by the THMP directive, it is the establishment of a new committee, which is HMPC, which is in charge of the redaction of monographs, community monographs for THMP and also for well-established use HMP, and also the redaction of a community list. So I briefly explained you the different categories which exist in Europe for the selling of herbal medicinal products. So we can say that for each category there are different level of data which will be given in the CTD, and also there are different levels of safety or of efficacy. And there are also different procedures because it can be registered as a national, decentralized, or national level, or they can be decentralized or use a mutual recognition. So it's true that there is no regulatory uniformity for all the herbal medicinal products, but you have to keep in mind that there is the same level of quality of the extract you use in your product. So here is the example of a full data HMP. So you have to prepare a dossier with the common technical the CTD format, which will include all the administrative information in Module 1, but also all the summaries in Module 2. I will not explain it in detail. It's just the summaries of the quality, non-clinical, and clinical reports. And then what is very important is that the different categories will not have the same module in the CTD, because for someone there will be only quality, for example, and for the one which is here, there will be the module 3 to complete with all the quality data, also the module 4 with non-clinical study reports, which includes all the toxicological aspects, and also the module 5, which includes clinical studies and all the substantiation of the efficacy of your product. With a well-established use, it will be a little bit easier, because you will replace your own data on the efficacy and on the safety of your product with bibliographical data. And also, thanks to the HMPC monographs, you will be able to use also the monographs on well-established used botanicals. So it's a little bit easier to prepare. Then for the THMP, when you use a community monograph, you will need just to give information on the quality data again, but then no module 4 and 5 to be prepared, just a reference to community monograph has to be made. And if you make a little deviation, always you need to justify it, and member states can ask you more information about this and refuse the product if the deviation is not accepted. Normally, with this procedure, the monograph justification shall be accepted by member states. It's not mandatory, but if they don't take it into account, they need to justify their choice really to competent between the competent authorities. So here is just for you to find where you can find all the herbal monographs. So it is on the website of EMA. And so it gives monographs for well-established use HMP and also for traditional use HMP. And so the first one is the demonstration is given with sufficient safety and efficacy data, whereas for simplified registration, it is based on the it is based on sufficient safety data and plausible efficacy. So just here I gave you an example, but not will go really through. It just shows you that for a well-established use, it is not the same composition than for traditional use, even if it's for the same botanicals. So here is the example of valerian and humulus. It will precise the pharmaceutical form you can use and the therapeutic indications you shall show on your product. Then it shows also the posology and the method of administration, and all the contraindication and the special warnings that should appear on the product, and that should be taken into account. So also some information on specific categories of person, like pregnant people, and on undesirable effects. So you have really the same way of presenting the things in all the European monographs. Another possibility is to use the community list, which exists in Europe since 2008, with the first decision of the Commission 2008 and 911, which have been amended after. So now there are 11 botanicals on this list, and for this list, it is quite the same than the procedure for community monographs. It means that you have to give quality data, but not the module 4 and 5, and just the reference to community list entry. So here again, you find it in the same website. And here is an example of the decision amended for Mentha piperita with all the conditions of use again of, for example, this botanical. So you will have it, and it is on internet. All the regulations are free. So the last possibility would be to prove yourself the tradition of use of your botanical if no list or monograph exists on your botanical. So for this, you have to justify the tradition of use by 30 years of use and 15 in the community. So it's important to look at the data you have, and also you can ask for advice of HMPC, even if it is not free, because the dossier can be refused if the data are insufficient. So in this case, you have to add to the module 3 of your own quality data also the justification of traditional use and the bibliographical data on traditional use. So there are different types also of procedure when you want to put it in the market. Either you can use the national procedures, which means that you go through the national procedure of one member state, and so it can give you the authorization for this member state in particular. And you can also use a European procedure, which will be, for example, mutual recognition procedure, which means that you submit the dossier to one member state, it is evaluated by this member state, but mutual recognition can apply in 90 days for approximately. And there is also the non-centralized procedures, which applies when the drugs are not authorized in any member state. So the first one was mutual recognition was for a product that had already been authorized in one member state. This one is when it is not authorized in any member state. So you took one member state as a reference member state. He will evaluate the dossier and make the link between the different concerned member states. So because of these very different procedures, there is a difference of level of evaluation between different member states, because if you send it to one member state, this member state will not have always the same evaluations as another one, so it's quite difficult sometimes to find the best way to go through an European commercialization. For example, for toxicological data for herbal medicinal products, France can be more strict on genotoxicity data than other European countries, for example. It's the same for botanical combination. Some countries are more aware of this combination to consider that the use is always traditional, others are not, so it's not really so easy. So it's important to make also a small evaluation before proceeding to the authorization and registration. In the future, so there will be more and more HMPC monographs, so it will help the reduction of CTD for THMP and HMP with well-established use. But the procedures will not change, so you will always have to have a big quantity of quality data to be able to allowed to commercialize the product. So here are some guidance really for herbal medicinal products and not for isolated substances that you can find on the EMA website. So there are the guidelines on scientific subjects like tests that you have to do, toxicity to be analyzed, and some also aspects on specific population and on specific substances that are contained in the medicinal products. And you also have a list of regulatory guidance, which includes the explanation of how to prepare a CTD. And then there is also on the European Commission website, you have an update on pharmaceuticals, which gives you the detail of the marketing authorization procedure. Also, I gave you the link because you will have the presentation then on about the competent national authorities. So when you have some questions, specific question, when you want to go to a specific country, you have all the address of the person in charge of this questions. So to conclude, finally, natural extracts can be used in drugs if the requirements are respected, if the quality of the product is ensured, because Module 3, as you have seen, is the one that is always mandatory, and it is very expensive for THMP, approximately 60,000 euros. So the safety and the efficacy shall be ensured for HMP, but not really for THMP, because it has been used during 30 years. So we can say that it is so the efficacy is substantiated with this long-term utilization. And so you need to authorize, to make the procedure of authorization or registration. What is the consequences for manufacturers? It's true that it's always difficult to evaluate the efficacy of their THMP because there are no clinical studies, only tradition that is taken into account. And it's also difficult to evaluate the best strategy to sell in Europe because of the difference of evaluation between the member states. One small reflection, because in our company we also work a lot on food products and on particularly on food supplement. I wanted just to make a little reflection on how to find the best stages for a product containing natural extracts, because I think it can be important for some pharmaceutical industry which also sells some food products and healthy products. So maybe I will not give you all the detail of the table, you will have it, but it is just all the data you have to take into account when you want to develop a product. It means, for example, what are your delays of development, what are the costs you can put on your development, and also what will be the communication you will make on your product. If I take again the example of Valerian, if you want just to speak about quality of sleep, maybe it will not be necessary to make a market authorization, because you will be able to do it with a food supplement health claim. But if you want to go through sleeping disorders, yes, you will need to go through the registration procedure if it has been, if you use the traditional use. But it's true that it will not go so far on the communication, but also the requirements are really not so hard to put into to make, because for example, for food supplements, in some countries you do not have to notify the product, or you just have to notify the product, but there is no evaluation by member states, so it's always easier to make this kind of product. So it can be something to think about when you are in the state of developing your product. And it's also important where you want to sell your products, for example, because if you want to sell it just in drugstores, yes, no problem. But if you want to go through a supermarket or other way of selling, maybe the food supplement could be a good choice also. So if you need more information about the difference between both stages, or for example more information about the procedure for food supplement, do not hesitate also to ask me. I think for natural extract we are really in a questioning of what stages is the most interesting for me if I want to sell a product, if I do not have, for example, the good delay, the good cost, etc. So here is the end of my presentation. If you have some question, or if you want to see me during the break, do not hesitate.